Don't let anyone see it.
Kofi! Kofi! Where are you? What a beautiful day for the wedding.
Wait, look!
It's Kofi. He's alive.
The evening sun hung low over the village of Macondo, painting the sky gold and crimson. Smoke curled lazily from clay huts, and the distant sound of pounding yam echoed through the valley. It was the kind of quiet that carried whispers of old magic, where the wind could tell stories and the river remembered secrets. In this peaceful village lived two young women, Zuba and Nyasha. They weren't sisters by blood, but from childhood they had shared everything: laughter, tears, even the same calabash of pap when food was scarce. If you saw one, the other was never far behind. They had a friendship that made even elders smile. Zuba was the gentle one, full of warmth, with eyes that sparkled like moonlight on water. Nyasha, on the other hand, was lively, bold, beautiful, and sharp-tongued when she wanted to be. Together they grew, playing by the river, braiding each other's hair, and dreaming of the men they would someday marry. But no friendship, no matter how strong, is safe from the poison of jealousy. The arrival of Kofi. When Kofi, the wealthy cattle merchant, came to Macondo, he brought with him a storm that would change everything. He was tall, well-built, and always wore white, his tunic spotless, his sandals shining like polished horn. His herds filled the village fields, and his laughter carried the weight of authority. Women whispered about him, men respected him. When Kofi's eyes fell on Zuba at the market one afternoon, he stopped mid-stride. She was laughing with a trader over a basket of mangoes, her smile brighter than the afternoon sun. He watched her for a long time, and that very day he sent his elder to her father's compound to declare his intentions. The news spread like wildfire. Zuba, the daughter of Mazi Banu, is to marry Kofi, the cattle lord. The whole village rejoiced. Drums echoed through the night. Zuba's family slaughtered a goat, and women came with gifts and songs. But among those who smiled, one pair of eyes burned with something dark. Nyasha smiled with her mouth, but not with her heart. The first seed of envy. Kofi adored Zuba. He brought her cloths of bright color from the city, jewelry that gleamed like fireflies in the dark, and perfumes whose scent lingered long after he left. Each time he returned from his journeys, he would bring her something new, a mirror, a silver anklet, or golden beads for her hair. Zuba, in her innocent joy, shared everything with her best friend. "Nyasha, look," she'd say, holding up a glittering necklace. "Kofi bought this one just for me. Isn't it beautiful?" Nyasha would clap and say, "Ah, Zuba, you are blessed. Even the queen of the next kingdom will envy you." But when she turned away, her smile would fade. The laughter in her heart would sour. Each gift felt like a reminder that she had nothing. No wealth, no suitor, no one to call her own. The envy grew quietly, like weeds beneath the soil. Then came the day Kofi gave Zuba a gift no maiden in Macondo had ever seen, a talking box. It was a small wooden device from the city, powered by a shiny stone. When one spoke into it, another person far away could hear. The villagers had never seen such a thing. Some called it witchcraft, others called it a miracle. Zuba became the talk of Macondo. She has the talking box. Her man is truly rich. Even the queen of the next kingdom never owned such a thing. That night, Nyasha couldn't sleep. She tossed on her mat, anger burning through her chest. Why must everything good fall into her hands? She whispered into the dark. If the spirits won't bless me, I will take the blessing myself. The visit to the dark shrine. The next morning, Nyasha followed a narrow path through the forest, past tall iroko trees and the sound of distant drums. Few dared to walk that path. It led to the shrine of Duma, the most feared native doctor in the region, a man who could trap a spirit in a snail shell or silence a mouth with nothing but ash and words. The air grew heavy as she approached the mud hut wrapped in red cloth. Skulls hung on sticks, and a strange humming filled the air. When she stepped inside, the native doctor lifted his head. His face was painted white, and his eyes glowed faintly like burning charcoal. "Child of Macondo," he said slowly, "you seek what the sun has not yet revealed." Nyasha trembled but nodded. "I want what belongs to another. I want her joy to end." Duma's lips curved into a smile that did not reach his eyes. "You speak of Zuba," he said, though she had never mentioned the name. Nyasha froze. The man's knowing gaze chilled her blood. He stood, his beads rattling softly, and walked around her in circles. "Your lover is your desire, yes? You wish to take him, or at least take his peace." Nyasha swallowed hard. "Yes." "Then bring me something that carries his breath, something close to his spirit. A picture, a cloth, a lock of hair. Bring it before the moon turns full." She nodded quickly and left, her heart racing. That night, while visiting Zuba as usual, Nyasha saw a small wooden frame on her friend's table, Kofi's smiling portrait. Zuba had shown it to her proudly weeks ago. She had said, "He sent it from the city. He said whenever I look at it, I should remember him." While Zuba went outside to fetch water, Nyasha's trembling fingers reached for the picture. She tore it gently from the frame and hid it under her wrapper. When Zuba returned, she was smiling again, as if nothing had happened. The Bottle of Shadows. That night, Nyasha returned to the shrine. The forest seemed darker than before, the crickets louder, the air thicker. Duma was waiting. Without a word, she handed him the photograph. He placed it on a small clay altar, then took out a clear glass bottle from his bag. It gleamed faintly in the firelight, cold and empty. He began to chant low, rhythmic words that sounded like the growl of an animal and the cry of a child at once. The hut trembled slightly. The fire flickered blue. Then Nyasha saw it. The picture on the altar began to move. Kofi's eyes blinked. His head turned. Slowly, his entire body rose from the paper and twisted into the bottle, shrinking until he stood there, tiny, alive, pounding on the glass. Nyasha gasped and stumbled backward. "No! What have you done?" Duma chuckled. "You wanted her joy to end. Now it is trapped within this bottle." Kofi's miniature voice screamed silently, his hands slamming against the glass, his face full of terror. Nyasha's knees shook. "What will happen to him?" she asked, her voice breaking. "It depends on you," Duma said. "Keep the bottle safe. If anyone touches it, the spell will break and his spirit will find his way home. But if you guard it well, he will remain lost forever, and your friend will weep until her heart dries up." He handed her the bottle. It was icy cold, colder than the river on a Harmattan morning. The secret burden. That night, Nyasha sneaked back home, clutching the bottle against her chest. Her mother called from the next hut, "My daughter, where have you been?" "Nowhere," Nyasha said quickly, entering her room. She bolted the wooden door and placed the bottle under her mat. But she could not sleep. Each time she closed her eyes, she heard faint tapping, Kofi's tiny hands beating against the glass. She rose at midnight and looked at it. The bottle glowed faintly under the moonlight. Inside, the tiny man looked up at her, his mouth moving, his eyes pleading. "Stop looking at me like that," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You're the reason she looks down on me." She covered the bottle with cloth, but sleep never came again. Zuba's sorrow. By morning, word spread across Macondo that Kofi had disappeared. His workers said he left for the city 2 nights ago, but never arrived. His cattle were untended. His house was silent. Zuba was frantic. She ran from house to house, asking if anyone had seen him. Days passed, then weeks, then months. No one found him. Zuba grew thin, her once bright eyes dimmed with grief. She sat by the river every evening, whispering his name to the wind, hoping somehow he would return. Nyasha visited often, pretending to comfort her. "You must eat," she'd say softly. "Perhaps he just traveled farther this time." But deep inside, she relished every tear, every sigh, every sleepless night her friend endured. The wedding news. After many moons, Nyasha's beauty caught the eye of Amadi, a trader from the next village. He was kind, handsome, and ready to marry her at once. Her family rejoiced. Drums returned to their compound. Songs of celebration filled the air. The wedding was fixed for the next full moon. When Nyasha went to tell Zuba, she found her friend sitting under the old fig tree, staring at the road. "Zuba," she called cheerfully, "I bring good news. Amadi has asked for my hand in marriage." Zuba smiled weakly. "That's wonderful, Nyasha. I'm happy for you." "You should move on too," Nyasha said lightly. "Kofi is gone. You're still young. Someone else will come." Zuba's eyes hardened, her voice steady. "No, I will wait for him. I know he's alive somewhere. The spirits haven't taken him." Nyasha forced a laugh and looked away so her friend wouldn't see the flicker of guilt in her eyes. The mother's discovery. Days to the wedding, Nyasha's mother entered her room to arrange clothes for the ceremony. She began folding wrappers and packing jewelry into bags.
When she reached under the bed, she found an old wrapper tied tightly around something heavy. "What is this?" she murmured, pulling it out. Nyasha entered just in time. Her heart stopped when she saw her mother holding the wrapped bundle. "Mama, leave that!" she shouted too quickly. Her mother frowned. "Why? What is inside?" It's just a charm for protection," Nyasha lied. "The priest gave it to me." The woman frowned again. "A charm? For what? Bring it here." Panic rose in her chest. If her mother opened it, she would see the bottle, see Kofi inside. The whole village would know. Thinking fast, she said, "Mama, my in-laws are outside. I just saw them coming." Her mother gasped. "Already? Let me meet them." She dropped the bundle and hurried out. The moment she left, Nyasha locked the door and unwrapped the cloth. The bottle shimmered faintly. Inside, Kofi still lived, weak, pale, his lips moving in silent pleas. She stared at him, fear mixing with disgust. "I can't keep you anymore," she whispered.
"You'll ruin everything." The river of secrets. Clutching the bottle, Nyasha slipped out of the compound, her feet kicking up dust as she walked fast through the narrow path toward the river. The trees whispered like witnesses as she passed. The closer she got, the heavier her heart grew. At the water's edge, she hesitated. The river moved gently, sunlight dancing on its surface. She looked at the bottle one last time. Kofi's tiny hands pressed against the glass. His mouth shaped the word, "Please." Tears filled her eyes, but she shook her head. "No, I won't lose everything because of you." She swung her arm and hurled the bottle deep into the river. It hit the surface, splashing once before the current swallowed it. It floated briefly, turning in the golden light, then drifted downstream, away from Macondo, away from her secret. Nyasha stood there trembling, her heart beating wildly. Then she ran, the sound of rushing water echoing behind her like the whisper of spirits. The boy by the river. The next morning, far from Maplondo, in a quiet village called Kulembe, a 13-year-old boy named Tambo was fetching water by the riverbank. His father, a hunter, was nearby preparing snares. As Tambo filled his gourd, something shiny bobbed near the rocks. He squinted. It was a bottle, clear, beautiful, and glowing faintly. He reached for it, curious, then froze. Inside was a man, tiny as a grasshopper, moving weakly. Tambo gasped and almost dropped the bottle. He ran to his father, shouting, "Papa, come, look!" The hunter turned, frowning, but when he saw the bottle, his expression changed to horror and awe. He had seen many strange things in his life, spirits in trees, charms buried in farms, but never a man trapped in glass. He took it gently from his son and said, "This is not a thing for hunters. We must take it to the prophet." They walked quickly to the house of Elder Lemba, the village seer. Elder Lemba was an old man with eyes that had seen both life and death. When the hunter showed him the bottle, he simply nodded. This is the work of dark jealousy. A heart that burns too long will one day light its own destruction. He placed the bottle on a woven mat, lit a small lamp, and began to pray, chanting ancient words and sprinkling river water around the room. The air thickened. The lamp flickered wildly. Then, with a sudden rush of wind, the bottle cracked open. A puff of dust filled the air, and before their eyes, the tiny figure of Kofi rolled out onto the mat, still small, still gasping. The elder placed his palm on the man's head and shouted, "By the power of truth and the mercy of the ancestors, rise!" Kofi's body glowed, his limbs stretched, his cries grew louder until suddenly he was full size again, lying weak but alive on the floor. The boy Tambo screamed in awe. The hunter bowed his head. Elder Lemba handed Kofi water and food. "Rest, my son. You have walked through the mouth of evil." For 3 days, Kofi remained there, regaining strength. When he was strong enough, he thanked them and began the long journey back to Macondo. The sun was setting when Kofi entered his village again. Children saw him first and ran screaming through the streets, "He has returned! Kofi has returned!" People gathered, shouting his name, but Kofi's face was hard. "Where is Zuba?" he asked. "She is in her hut," they said. "She never stopped waiting for you." As he walked toward her home, the sound of drums echoed faintly from another direction. Someone whispered, "Those drums are for Nyasha. Today is her wedding." Kofi stopped. His heart pounded. He turned toward the sound of celebration. At Nyasha's compound, guests danced unaware of what was coming. The bride sat in her shimmering white cloth, her smile forced. And then, suddenly, the music stopped. Gasps filled the air. Heads turned toward the gate. There stood Kofi, alive, tall, and silent. Nyasha's face drained of color. The calabash of palm wine slipped from her hand and shattered on the ground. Zuba, hearing the commotion, stepped out from the crowd, her eyes wide, tears spilling instantly as she saw the man she thought she had lost forever. The guests whispered. The drummers lowered their sticks. The world seemed to stop breathing. Nyasha trembled, her lips quivering. Then, before anyone could speak, she screamed, I will confess everything!" And she fell to her knees before the stunned crowd. Thank you so much for watching Zeta's stories. Your love and support mean everything to me. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more powerful African tales. Part 2 of The Man in the Bottle drops soon. Don't miss it. New stories every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday by 7 p.m. Nigeria time. Stay connected. More mystery and emotion await.